Observing Star Trek overlaps, opinions, and originals. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live, number 255. Yes, I know. With Dr. Trek, that's me, Larry Nemecek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 for some sanity, clarity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek. Welcome back, everybody. If you're a Tuesday regular, I know a lot of you are, and we may even have some new faces in aboard today. I'm going to talk about this elongated topic. Oh my. I have been traveling for the last 2 out of 3 weekends. That's part of what's prompting this today. The other thing that's prompting it is a topic that came up at our European Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable last week for the Portales, which was really good at spurring some topics I thought would be great for these Tuesdays. And one of them that I got reinforced from another angle was when I was just in Greater Detroit. I was actually in Southfield. And a couple of you on today may have been there. It's starting to be great to get back out to live events and see faces, new and veteran, that we talk to online all the time. So Star Trek overlaps. If that seems a little odd, hang on. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going for the alliteration. Did you catch it? Otherwise, I do want to say thanks to everybody for joining us today. And thanks for being here once again in Trekland. And really quickly, a quick mention, if you haven't heard, offering this Roddenberry life tour for 2 days in August. You come to LA and it's for 2 days going around LA, seeing where we're retracing the steps that led to Gene, that led to Star Trek, with some insight. And Roddenberry will be joining us for part of that. That's at my website at LarryNemecek.com. You can click in. And also, if you're a Vegas bound, really quick, don't forget on the Wednesday on Con Eve, we'll be going out once again to the Valley of Fire for the Kirk Memorial Tour. You can catch that one at geeknationtours.com. You can also find out about the big tour for next July. July 2023 too. So what do I mean, gang? What do I mean by observing Star Trek overlaps? Well, two things from the marketing perspective, as in, I don't know what you thought about Discovery or what you've thought about Picard, or I know this question, what you're thinking about Strange New Worlds. Have you noticed we've gone from, oh my goodness, there'll be a fresh week of Trek every week now. Some of you may not like some as much as others, but that's just the point. We're in this weird, wacky time where there is new Trek to sample, even if it's not all your favorite on the buffet. But it's there. We've gone from just imagining that concept just in the last year or so to running out of room. The calendar is such, and COVID delays have played a part of this, I know, but the calendar is such that, have you noticed how the last episode, the finale of seasons, is overlapping with the premiere of the new show? I mean, I've noticed this. This is going to happen once or twice now. It happened once or twice with Picard Discovery, but Discovery overlapped the start of Picard, and now Picard is going to overlap the first 2 episodes, 3 of Strange New Worlds. Doesn't that seem counterproductive? In a world where we're stretching, in a world where we are enjoying, but also Paramount Plus is stretching out the series to get maximum input and letting no subscription go undone while they wait for the new Trek. Well, hello, 2018. That's not happening anymore. I mean, it's good for feeding the fan hunger, and it's also good for feeding the corporate image. That's the dovetail, duh. But this thing about overlapping is really weird, because just when a season should be climaxing with its season finale, as we understand it now, and you're wanting the ballyhoo of a season premiere, does it seem counterintuitive? Even if you're the suits, does it seem counterintuitive to overlap those? Much less, I've watched fandom and the punditry class of fandom scrambling all over the place to try to cover the build-up to a finale and also jump onto the hype of a premiere, because, the premieres have been hyped for months in increasing. Look at Strange New Worlds campaign. This is amazing. It was really built up before Chicago a month early. All while Picard is trying to get some attention to break through to even more eyeballs as it winds up. Now, I'm not saying don't criticize, don't critique all these episodes, but just in the mainstream of trying to get the word out. It really does seem counterintuitive. There must be a reason. I haven't heard what it was. For a while, it was about COVID, and we just need to keep the year rolling along. And I know our friends in Europe are going, what are you talking about? We're still waiting to get definite dates on seeing some of this by the book anyway. I know you savvy fans know exactly how you're going to see all your Star Trek and then critique it. But it's really, it's dawning on me. We've gone from the desert of 12 years to having something, and people binge watch it for a week on the free week, and then they turn off their CBS All Access. We've gone from that to Trek every week to now more than one Trek a week. And I don't know if anyone has read or heard. I've just been thinking about this the last week or two. I've been on the run. I haven't really deep dived. If there are commitments, contractual obligations that are forcing these overlaps, but they really seem to be, they're not letting everything have its own moment in the sun. It's time in the spotlight, which seems sad to me. It seems sad that there's a split focus between season finales and season premieres because they're going to fight each other. And, if there is one that's I think there was a lot of excitement around the beginning of Picard because of all the Starship porn and all the news about all the old guard art folks working on it, and to see what that would look like. And then the alternate universe, the fascist futures, all of that, the time travel, there was a curiosity about that. And I really feel like, even if you didn't feel like it was the biggest, bestest, baddest Star Trek ever, the wrap of a Discovery, I think, suffered a little bit because of that overlap. And now here we are with Picard looking like yesterday's news to some people, as they're all excited about Strange New Worlds. And it just seems fun. And then we're going to get to live action overlapping with apparently Strange Lower Decks is coming next, but overlapping with animation. And animation feels like it's always going to suffer coming or going when it's piled up against live action. I don't know. I'm curious to see what you all think. Are we actually doing harm? Are you frustrated? Whether you have your own live stream or not, because everybody's got a podcast now, even if it's just you and Uncle Jack and Aunt Mildred and Grandma, everyone's got a podcast now. And I mean, are you frustrated trying to do the finales justice, much less launch the new shows in the same week? And even if you're the 47 people left who don't have a podcast, is that frustrating? I mean, on one hand, we thought, oh my God, embarrassment of riches. It's a little bit of a throwback to the days when we had DS9 layered with TNG or Voyager, and we started having split focus. And that was every week, I know. That was ongoing. That was 26 weeks a year. Nothing like it all today on that respect, but it's a taste of that frustration. And how camps, now there's no time for the camps to form here, because it's just, we're talking about one-off shows, one-off occasions of overlap, maybe two. But it still feels like the climax of the season, the start and the finish, are drowning each other out in some ways, or one is inevitably going to win out over the other, and the lesser one suffers. The one that's already here, it's already been here for 9 weeks, so it's old hat. I don't know. I was curious what you thought. The other thing that comes, and this is out of Chicago, this is out of Mission Chicago, and this is out of Greater Detroit in Southfield, where I was just at a wonderful little con, PinguaCon. If you're up in that Great Lakes area, think about jumping in and enjoying it. It's a makers open source con as well as a sci-fi con. Old school, fandom run, nonprofit, but it's run by a nonprofit board, but by savvy old timers with new blood coming in all the time. Big goal this year was to survive the pandemic. And they did. They will be back next year, and power to them. It was wonderful. No actor guests. So I was the biggest claim to fame that their guest lineup had, but it was a wonderful time. Everybody had a great time. And it was a good study in contrasts between the big licensed all Star Trek event, Mission Chicago, which, was a bit of a growing pain itself, a launch. It was the first for Reed Pop in its new, not Mission Chicago, Mission New York 6 years ago, which was a one-off, but this as definitely a blueprint for things to come. But that's one mode. And then you've got the small fan run con, loving to be larger than it was. At one time, as much as 2,000 people. Half that now, just recovering from the pandemic, but they'll get back there. A lot of new folks, I witnessed many first timers, including a few I brought in, came to see me. But my point here is it reminds me of how great it is as we come out of the pandemic, especially, but even before that, about supporting your local regional cons, even if they don't offer your favorite slice of the pie when it comes to fandom, even if they don't have a lot of Star Trek. Maybe it's up to you to get involved and bring some Star Trek. Yes, you can do it. But supporting that maybe you're not in a metropolitan area where they're going to have a big license show, a big convention, a big Comic-Con. Because that's the other stripe of this. Mission Chicago was all Trek. I've seen small town and this is a thing. Sometimes they're run by promoters whose reach exceeds their grasp, or their starry-eyedness exceeds their business acumen. But there are smaller and smaller market Comic-Cons out there of varying quality. Of course, we've got the big granddaddies, right, in the big major cities from San Diego on down. These are all fundamentally different flavors, and different kinds of fans attend different ones. And the kind of fan, old school, hotel con, room parties, I was digging it all at PinguaCon. Been a long time since we'd had room parties. I haven't got back to SoonerCon yet. My homies kept making me think of, but in different ways, my homies back in OKC. But I did keep meeting Trek fans at this General Sci-Fi Con. There were plenty of them. I had a good turnout for all my panels. We did a stellar cartography panel, history of the fan side and the science side, and it was awesome. Had a lot of good feedback, and I heard a lot of good opinion. And what made me think of this overlap theme again is I'm starting to hear it all. We are finally getting enough distance between now and 2017, much less now in 2005 or 2009, that I'm starting to see the uniform opinions that you always see online, or that you always heard, from your 7 closest friends. Those are starting to bifurcate a little. I cannot tell you how many times I heard people at my table or in panels, in the Trek-related panels. Some I was not running. I was so thrilled to go into a Trek panel that I could just go and sit down. And it was just old school around the table yak discussion. And all the different opinions about even the modern shows, even the current crop. I remember looking at the guy who said he loved the first season of Discovery, but it's gone downhill ever since. Very earnest, and still watching. The folks who are tired of Enterprise getting a bad rap. The folks who loved Picard's first season and not so much the second. The folks who loved the first 3 seasons of Discovery and not this one. Fandom is a beautiful thing. And it's a reminder that online is only a certain slice of fandom, and even then, sometimes only the loudest ones break through, especially with all we know about the algorithms and the magnetic attraction to your account. Or that season 1 of Picard was too wandery, but season 2 is very tight. That's one I saw. Picard season 2 opened really strong, and then it bogged down, or it bogged down to the beginning, and now it's really tight. It's been all over the place. People who really, really love David Ayala on Discovery and Lower Decks. And yes, in the middle of this near uniformity, people loving Lower Decks, I had 1 and then 2 voices who said they didn't think it was funny, and they thought it was too loud and noisy. And that's all valid too. Everybody's got their, those are basics. And what I'm getting at here is we're having overlapping opinions that overlap and aren't all monolithic. I know what I think and what I thought, but you know what? I got back, and my other half, this is not something she does. She's been threatening to for a year. My other half had started a rewatch of Enterprise because she'd never seen it past the pilot. She watched the pilot and said, "Oh, that's dumb. This is sad." Click. And she never watched it past the pilot. And she's just about to end season 1 now. And still doesn't have a very high opinion of it. Still thinks it's thin compared to other ones, which I agree with. But there are highlights and moments, and she's determined now to watch it through. So, overlapping opinions. Sometimes we go back and revisit a show, and we remembered exactly the way it was. But then I've got so many people are seeing the leader here is DS9 with new eyes. On the other end of the scale, the loser might be the original series as new generations go back and watch it and wonder what all the fuss was about, outside of intellectually knowing, yeah, nothing would be here without it. Which, as someone who grew up with that, that's something to a lot of folks. I still am bringing that concept about how people under 30 are having a hard time watching the original series, and people over 50 or over 40 are having a hard time processing that. And some of that may just be, well, how much life experience have you had? Come back and watch it when you're 40, and maybe you'll see what the rest of TV looked like in the 60s, and you'll get it. But again, we're all coming from where we are. This is something I talk about all the time live, something I talk about here, obviously, you guys know. But the idea that we're getting far enough along in modern Trek, in new Trek, I hate that, because that was already used. That's what they tried to call Next Generation, like New Coke, and it didn't wash then. But fine, in you if you want to. I'll know what you're signaling though when you do that. Which you really want to give away your position before you even get to the table. But hey, that's not me. But the Kurtzman era, the degree of evolution, the degree of approach and style, different showrunners running different shows now, even though they were all conceived from the same tank. I mean, if you can't see that with Lower Deck, here's the thing. I've been very worried lately about Strange New Worlds. I've been so concerned that fandom across all the lines was looking at Strange New Worlds like, can I borrow this phrase? The Great Trek Hope. Like it's going to save everything. That if you have any large or small disinclination, disappointment with modern Trek, and your nostalgia is carrying you back all the way back to Enterprise. Okay, DS9 or Next Gen, or yes, the original series, and you are so thrilled for the standalone nature of Strange New Worlds. What happens when something disappoints you? Because something is going to disappoint you. You may be over the whole thing of the retcon. We're going to get the original series now is going to be the dumbed down public versions of the adventures. And now we're going to see what the Enterprise and the uniforms and the props really look like. That's maybe just a 55-year paradigm we're going to have to swallow and accept for those of us who were there. That may be where things are. And maybe long-term growth, if we want this thing to be around 100 years, maybe that's laughably inevitable, maybe, probably. But right now, I worry that the bar for Strange New Worlds is so impossibly high that when people do have a disappointment in something, in an actor, in a writing style, in a trend, in a plot arc, something is going to disappoint somebody, and that impossible high is going to come crashing down. I hope not. We'll see. And some people are out there saying, my God, we've lived through Discovery and Picard, blah, blah, blah. How could it be any worse? Well, that's the cynics side of things. So we'll see. Maybe I'm overestimating. I'm just keeping my eyes open. I'm just staying woke. I'm just trying to anticipate, not be a deer in the headlights. I mean, I'm always preaching that. The Portales know this too. The other thing is Prodigy. And I'm now thinking, after being in a room and hearing these slices of opinion emerging, being able to hear individuals who love season 1 Discovery, not so much anything since. I know, go figure. I'm really thinking that I have heard the least about Prodigy, aside from everyone agrees that it's not just for kids, that it's uplifting and positive, not insulting, not talking down to kids at all. And where I thought that would be the way with Lower Decks, I've heard enough, some people, that's just not their cup of tea. It's a minority. It may be 2% or 5% of fandom. Rough ideas, your mileage may vary. But I have yet to hear anyone, and maybe we'll have somebody in the chat. I'm not precluding anything. Please, everybody, our Tuesday live chat here is open to all opinions. Nothing abusive, obviously. Nothing that's outside the arena of civic discourse, okay? But if you can state your opinion civilly, we are open format here. But I don't think I've yet to hear anyone have a major disagreement, a major critical aspect to discuss about Prodigy. I mean, Cadet Alice certainly doesn't, for the most part. That may be the most surprising at all. Of course, I love being surprised that people are surprised with all of this. when all is said and done, Prodigy may be the one series that people have the least that they feel like critiquing about. And maybe that's by a lot of people still haven't watched it, but a lot of people are surprised. They don't have kids in the house and they're watching Prodigy. And yeah, it's the only Trek on for 5 or 10 weeks at a time. But we know that they finished 2 seasons of 20 shows apiece, 20 episodes apiece. So there's 40 episodes of Prodigy out there. And what's that, 3-4 arcs going at least? So that's all yet to unfurl this season as we get back around to Lower Decks, as the other seasons unwind. Season 3 of Picard is certainly going to be in the wings. The show is done, wrapped. They're tearing down sets up in Santa Clarita. Apparently nothing is taking its place as an LA-based Star Trek show, which makes me sad. But after I hear that it costs 4 times more to shoot in LA than it does in Toronto, I don't know. What are you thinking? Do you have a circle of friends online or, oh my God, in real life that are presenting minority views? And who's to call it a minority yet? We don't know. We don't have adequate polling on this. Are you hearing overlapping opinions that are surprising to you as we start to get finally more and more seasons in the can, more and more distance between us and the debuts of the various seasons and the shows? Because, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Hopefully it is reasonably rationally stated. And, you know, an opinion can be a gut reaction as well as something really thought out. I would hope that people would have a gut reaction, take a snapshot, and then go and compare to maybe reasoning, maybe go and listen to the points other people make. That's discussion. Whether it's bar buddy debates or hopefully not too ridiculous threads online, or perish the thought, actual in live meetups and get-togethers. But that's what struck me about Detroit. And you know what? PinguaCon was not a Trek con. It was a multi-genre con. It was very, very one of their standards. One of the platforms of the con was being very open and diverse and accepting all the gender equality, neutralities, as well as all the insights, and a very tech open source end of programming that overlapped, that brought in a lot of techs and engineers and home Etsyists, a lot of creators, a lot of folks. They didn't have a dealer's room, they had a maker's mart. So a lot of crafters, people building their own. So no, it was it was surprisingly representative of Trek and surprisingly diverse that way. That was a hallmark of the con, and in the roots. But as far as like actual topics presented, was pretty wide ranging. And I was there was a poetry slam, and I did my one thing that's not nonfiction. I did for the PinguaCon slam, and it was fun to read this poem I wrote in college out loud again as I said at the closing. I had a great time, but I really was able to hear diversity opinions about Trek, all civilly stated, no haters. People just factually unwinding, and you could tell a lot of people hadn't had the chance really to do it, and probably weren't even that big about online and virtual fandom. So it was interesting to see that vibe, and to see, including some who came by my table, people who were still at their first convention ever. It was fun. I was kind of in a place where I could yell and go, first con. I didn't go to the Virgin thing because that throws people sometimes. People get the wrong idea. And comparing that to Mission, where we were all Trek all the time, a little thrown because of a new venue, it was still as rewarding and fun to see the variety of opinions. I got a lot of that variety at Mission at Chicago, when we weren't running around trying to figure out where the hell we were going to eat and drink. Because what about you? What about you? Are you having friends or folks online? Are you getting into legit discussions, not bots and trolls, just stirring shit up? Are you getting into surprising discussions about the current crop of Trek, or hell, even legacy shows that are surprising? Younger fans coming in. I know. I can't stand the 60s, but even younger fans coming in to have a vastly different opinion about current Trek. Or if you're younger a fan, maybe older folks who are bringing a perspective you didn't realize. Hopefully it's all in the guise of civility. Hopefully it's all in the guise of the vibe of Star Trek, which Comic-Con vendors will tell you is the nicest fandom out there. Star Trek is. Shock of shocks to some of you who have been burned in threads. I know. But live and in person, The DNA of Gene and Iddick is still burning bright. Okay, that's the topic today. Did I meander too much, or did it kind of make sense in the end? It struck me we had these two overlaps. The overlapping of episodes, is that damaging the cause? And the overlaps of opinion with what you might have always thought people thought. And that's not damaging at all. The more the merrier. If you're watching us on YouTube, there is more to come if you're watching us live. So if you're doing that, if you ever have the chance on Tuesday afternoons to join us, please do. And yeah, you can jump into this chat I keep referring to. Otherwise, I want to thank, of course, our Patreonos, our Patreonos, our Patreon folk at the TTL Club, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne Marie Siegel, Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, and Blaze K. And our live wires, of course, Rusty Harold, Halbert Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoensi, J.R. Poole, I saw you this last weekend again, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, the newest Portale in the heavens is with us there. Hey, and Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Casey Shafsky. Thanks you all for being a Patreon. You can be a Patreon too. It's the end of the month. Jump in before the end of the month when they collect it. I have a simple $5, $10 tier system. It's very simple for a shout out and for prior interview access from the old Portal 47 interview vaults. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. Appreciate you all. We're slowly and steadily enlarging all of this. Elsewhere this week on the Trek Files, there's a new one up. Trek Files on Facebook, anywhere you get your pods, but Facebook's where the documents are. This week, we're going military side, and I've got Dave Rossi back, who himself is a vet, talking about that time the Admiral let Gene Roddenberry ride on the Enterprise. We've got the letters, and we've got the conversation this week at the Trek Files, podcast.roddenberry.com. There are a lot of new Roddenberry podcasts covering Prodigy, covering the Orville, even. So go check out what Mission Log and the rest of Roddenberry's been up to. Otherwise, gang, please follow me at Twitter, Larry Nemecek, and Larry Nemecek's Trekland. I need a new sign. Where you're watching right now, like and subscribe on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram. A lot of fun stuff coming out of Detroit we put up too. Portal47.net, I mentioned that. If you want to come have the mini-con all year long experience. But that's going to be it, gang. Another Tuesday, another weekend of my throat settling down. It's going to be just fine, though. Looking forward to the cons coming up the rest of the year. Looking forward to, Strange New Worlds in a couple of weeks and Picard's finale coming. We'll see what that brings. I'm just going to say for now, stay healthy, do all the things. This pandemic ain't over yet. Stay woke, check your sources before you engage with someone. And most of all, as always, Trek well, everybody.